morning. It is so good to have you join with us today. Welcome to St. Paul's United Church from Oakville, Ontario, on the long treasured lands of the Mississaugas of the Credit. I'm Carolyn Smith, and with Deborah Laforette and our music director, Catherine Arcand-Pinette, we serve in ministry here with all of you St. Paul's folks who happen to be spread far and wide. Now, if we were to draw a circle, it stretches out up north, down south, out east, and all the way west to British Columbia. That's just perfect because today we're celebrating our widening circle of care and faithful learning and advocacy. Today, we become officially, with long-awaited fanfare and praise, an affirming congregation of the United Church of Canada. And I know our circle includes guests and friends who are here to celebrate with us. So welcome. We are thrilled to share this day with you. We have Ada Shen sharing her gift on the piano with us, and with familiar supporters you'll recognize who have joined us on our affirming journey. And we have our guest speaker, Pam Rocker from Calgary. Pam is known as an artist and an atypical activist. She's a trailblazer and a leader for full inclusion of LGBTQ+ people in our faith communities. She is known for her work in the United Church, including for a time at Hillhurst in Calgary. And now her leadership is shared widely. This summer, our Rendezvous youth learned from Pam Rocker, and so we are thrilled to welcome her with us today. I know many of you have your candle ready, so go ahead and get one if you can. But this is all about the Spirit, right? So join me. I light this beautiful candle for the first time. Warm and radiant and bright as the light and peace of Christ crosses all time and space, from me to you, from our circle to our communities and to our world. I wish you the peace of Christ. Share it with each other and here in the chat box on Facebook or by text and with your prayers. Within the glow, all of us under the rainbow are welcome and loved. Let's sing.
Let us build a house where love can dwell and all can safely live. A place where saints and children tell our hearts learn to forgive. Build of hopes and dreams and visions, rock of faith and vault of grace. Here the love of Christ shall end. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house where prophets speak and words are strong and true, where all God's children dare to seek to dream God's reign on you. Here the cross shall stand as witness and the symbol of God's grace. Here as one we claim the faith of Jesus. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house where love is found in water, wine, and wheat. A banquet all on holy ground where peace and justice meet. Here the love of God through Jesus is revealed in time and space, as we share in Christ the feast that frees us. All are welcome, all build a house where hands will reach beyond the wood and stone, to heal and strengthen, serve and teach, and live the words they've known. Hear the outcast and the stranger, bear the image of God's face. Let us bring an end to fear and danger. All are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place. Let us build a house where all are named, their songs and visions heard, and loved and treasured, taught and claimed as words within the word, built of tears and cries and laughter, prayers of faith and songs of grace. Let this house proclaim from floor to rafter, all are welcome, all are welcome, all are welcome in this place.
Morning, St. Paul's. I'm Jay Smith,
Still Jeff Lafayette.
and we have been affirmed as the bizarre husbands of Deborah and Carolyn.
You know what? Every week you impress me with that.
What can I say? There are a couple of announcements. One is that the Country Bake Store is closed at midnight tonight for the bazaar, and that the knitting table is open for another week, even though the bulletin said it was closing at the same time. So the knitting store will be open for another week. Scramble to the bake store. You got until midnight, and if Jeff and I get there first, you're in trouble.
So I will honestly say, though, that you and I should actually be the mascot of the knitting table, because apparently we're nitwits.
Oh, awesome.
So,
awesome.
you know,
that's perfect.
next year they could just put us on their marketing.
Nice, nice.
Yeah.
And the other announcement is Advent starts next week. So please keep your eye out for what's coming for the Christmas season.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it, and we're looking forward to seeing all of you. So, Jay, I got to ask you, what do you think of the mustache?
It's incredible. It's coming in so much. Movember is just, it's amazing. I can't, yeah.
I'm really glad I get to show it to all of you.
Yeah, for all of you on the internet, you got to be proud of that. Absolutely, absolutely.
So we have a guest. I'm looking forward to your intro.
I am, and why don't we, dash towards it?
Oh. Jay, thank you so much for that amazing rendition in Morse code. I thought that was really quite creative.
Thank you.
So for St. Paul's, thank you so much for joining us this week. So you've been used to us jumping around and visiting all our community partners. And so Jay and I thought we'd take a quick left turn and go back all the way to where it started. St. Paul's, here we are. And we're with Judy Damone, yes, the Judy Damone, and church board chair. And how long have you been a member here, Judy?
17 years.
17 years, wow. You don't look a day over 16 years.
No.
So Jay and I were talking, we were saying, with everything that's going on in the world, with COVID and people being isolated, recent lockdowns being announced, there's a lot of people who are kind of feeling just a little low. And we thought, why don't we use this as an opportunity to start building people up? And we thought this would be a great Sunday because there's something near and dear in your heart that we're starting to celebrate today.
There is indeed.
So tell me about it.
Because today we are going to officially become an affirmed congregation, which yes, is very near and dear to my heart. To say, inside we're all just people. We are all the same. We all have the same emotions. We think, we feel. We are all just the same. And it's so important that now we can be public and we can talk about it and we can shout it out and we can have signs and we can do everything just to say how very happy we are.
And I love the idea that we are happy, and I love the idea that we at St. Paul's have always given ourselves kind of the title of being a welcoming congregation. Now we get to prove it. Now we get to show it.
This is it, yes. Welcoming is great. Affirming is a step further because it is intentional.
Right.
It's explicit. It is saying what we feel and what is near and dear to us and shouting it from the rafters. So it's great.
And I think we'd be remiss that we haven't really had a chance. Yes, being affirming is one thing, but the process can be a while, right? The process can take, how many years did it take?
2 years.
2 years, formally 2 years.
Yeah.
And the discussion much longer. And here we had this vote, and we have to do the vote outside of church.
The vote was phenomenal. Done with Zoom, with people from youth all the way into the 90s, people in their 90s, and 90 people showed up. And all 90 were able to figure out how to vote on Zoom using either their phone or Zoom itself and stuff. And 96% said, this is a great idea. We support the church becoming an affirming congregation.
I don't know there's many other votes in St. Paul's that we can say had a 96%. And what a great way to be public, intentional, and explicit. So Judy, thank you so much. We're thrilled to be a part of it. And I will tell you that you're here. There are many people that we know are part of the process, and we'll hear from them throughout the service. Mm-hmm. But thank you for what you do. And St. Paul's, if you have any ideas that you want to share with Jay and I, stories that we can tell to build people up, any ideas you want us to celebrate and focus on, we're your guys. Reach out to Deborah, find us on the web, and we'll try to include it over the next few weeks. Goodbye, St. Paul's.
The people of Royal York Road United Church congratulate St. Paul's United on becoming an affirming congregation.
Good morning, live with Dr. JJ from Manor Road United Church, and greetings to St. Paul's United Church in Oakville. So sorry I could not be there with you today, but you have crossed the threshold. You have opened the doorway to be children of the rainbow as you celebrate becoming affirming. Celebrations and hang out the hallelujahs, one step at a time, boldly hand in hand, to touch the stars and be the gift and grit of radical grace today.
Hello, St. Paul's United Church of Oakville. This is a portion of the Affirm group of Port Nelson United Church, which is the proud first church of Halton to be an affirming church. We welcome you most warmly to the group, and thank you for taking this step as well. I think it's be a wonderful journey for you. Congratulations.
Hi, St. Paul United. Congratulations on your 96% affirming vote. Super proud of you, super happy for the beginning of this journey. Wishing you the best of luck and all of God's love.
Hi, folks at St. Paul's. I just want to take this opportunity to congratulate you all on working towards a affirming congregation, and thank you for your continuous and ongoing support.
Hi, St. Paul's. It's Marcus Logan. I just wanted to thank you so much from the bottom of my heart for involving me in your affirming process. And I'm so proud of the work that you've done, the youth and the congregation. Amazing. Congratulations. And I hope that you're enjoying the service.
Hey, St. Paul's. Yay! I heard about the results of your vote to officially become an affirming church, and I just want to say thank you, I'm proud of you, and congratulations. Yay!
Hey, St. Paul's. I know I'm from in the congregation. I just wanted to take a second to say congratulations and thank you. This work has been so meaningful and important, and I'm so excited that we're an affirming church. But this work is just getting started, and I'm even more excited for all of the work that we're going to get to do together. More importantly, I am so incredibly proud of us, and I'm so incredibly thankful for each and every one of you. Thank you.
Hello, friends. At St. Paul's United Church in Oakville, I'm very pleased to be bringing greetings to you from Affirm United's Affirming Ensemble, and I hope that this finds you well in spite of the current pandemic, well and ready to celebrate. I am Linda Hutchinson, one of 3 volunteer coordinators of the Affirming Ministry program, here via this recording to present your Affirming Ministry certificate, declaring St. Paul's United Church the 235th Affirming Ministry across Canada, the 97th Affirming Ministry in Ontario, and you are the 5th ministry to celebrate becoming affirming online. There are also over 160 ministries currently in the Affirming Ministry program. These include communities of faith, outdoor ministries, regional councils, and others. We are so grateful for your commitment as a community of faith to this work of advocacy, education, and support of the LGBTQ community, as well as all other marginalized people. We look forward to your participation in the wider work of affirming ministries across the country, sharing ideas and bringing your enthusiasm. And now, let me read your certificate to you. It looks like this, and it says, Affirm United, Affirming Ensemble is pleased to recognize St. Paul's United Church in Oakville, Ontario, as an affirming ministry within the United Church of Canada. We acknowledge that this community of faith has completed the Affirming Ministry educational program and has issued a statement of faith and action which welcomes people of all sexual orientations and gender identities into every aspect of their life and work. It's signed by myself, a pleasure for me to do so, and dated this Sunday, November the 22nd, 2020. So, congratulations, St. Paul's in Oakville, and blessings as you journey on, seeking justice and hospitality for all of God's children. May you be blessed.
Congratulations, St. Paul's. You know, I've always wanted to be a minister that serves a church that is affirming, and I'm even more pleased that I was able to join in this process and be a part of the becoming, and to also be a part of what comes next. As you heard many people say already, this is a journey that's just beginning. So I'm excited to be in this adventure with you. Enough from me. We still have quite a bit more to come. We're going to hear from Kathy Duddick, who is a member of our congregation and a part of the town of Oakville. And we will get a presentation of the flag describing what the different colors mean. And then we'll hear some scripture, and we'll get to hear from Pam Rocker and our adult choir. And then we'll finally get to sing become our affirming anthem, our My Love Colors Outside the Lines. So without further ado, let's hear from Kathy.
It is my pleasure today to bring greetings on behalf of Town Council and the Mayor of Oakville, Rob Burton. On behalf of Oakville Town Council, I'm pleased to extend our most heartfelt congratulations to St. Paul's United Church for voting to become an affirmed congregation. Your support of the LGBTQ community is to be commended, and as the first affirmed congregation in Oakville, you set a precedence for the acceptance and the equality for all within our community. as you seek to be a safe and inclusive faith community for people of all gender identities, sexual orientations, married status, family configuration, abilities, ages, races, ethnicities, faith, and social economic circumstances. You are enriching the lives of all those involved in your ministry. On behalf of Oakville Town Council and the residents of Oakville, I congratulate you all and thank you for your inclusivity and the service you provided to our community for more than 50 years, and wish you all the best in the future. And it's signed, Mayor Rob Burton.
Good morning, St. Paul's. This part of the service is our presentation of the flag and what it stands for. So this presentation was written by Marcus Logan, who has worked with us in a variety of ways. He works for the Oakville Public Library, and aside from that, he has supported us in so many ways throughout this whole adventure. And he created this presentation for us, but was unable to record it. So instead, we have youth from St. Paul's who recorded different parts of it. So as many of you know, the 7 colors of the LGBTQ+ community's rainbow flag each represent a unique facet of human existence. Each color represents a constituent part of human existence, but together, they recall for us the richness and power of diversity. Here is what each color of the flag means.
Pink. Pink represents sexuality. We celebrate this part of our identity. We are also reminded that there are still many places in the world and many institutions that exclude us because of this part of our identity.
Red. Red represents life. It recalls for us love, and certainly it is also the color of our blood, our vital sap, without which we could not live. Red, the color of good wine and savory apples, invokes a joy of life and passion.
Orange, a splashy and fresh color, represents healing. We are all called into life to reconcile ourselves with people, including ourselves, all with circumstances, changes, limits, and barriers. Orange also invites us not to resignation, but finding harmony in accepting what life may well present to us and finding acceptance within ourselves.
Yellow represents the sun. What should we do without the sun, this luminous star which is the source of all life on our planet? Yellow smiles at us, just as we say the sun does too. This color comes to tickle us, to encourage us to growth and to bring us out of ourselves. Yellow, the sun, shines a light on the LGBTQ community, bringing it out of the darkness and oppression.
Green represents nature. We are indulged by Mother Earth, especially here in Canada. Whatever the 4 seasons, the variety of fauna, or the splendor of flora, nature frames us, calms us, and inspires us. And more, green is the color of hope and growth, building a new inclusive community that can celebrate within itself and with others.
Blue represents harmony. We have perhaps designated blue as the color of harmony because we all live under the same sky, whether it be blue or gray. As well, blue recalls for us the ocean's great expanses of water that unite all of the continents. Harmony within all our communities unites us as human beings.
Violet represents spirit or soul. We obtain violet through mixing red, the color of life, with blue, the color of harmony. It is therefore said that violet represents a harmoniousful life. Violet is a rich and beautiful color, which invites profound reflection in remembering our history and honoring those who blaze the trails before us. Youth must remember our history.
Recently, we see the appearance of the progressive flag. A new version meant to be more inclusive to all members of the community, often excluded while facing extreme oppression. Adding black and brown stripes reminds us that the two-spirit LGBTQ+ community is rich and diverse in color, faith, and culture, and that we are called to be better allies to those in the community who live with the intersectionality of sexuality, gender, and color. We included the transgender colors, the light blue representing male, pink representing female, and the white representing transition, because we are called to love, accept, celebrate our transgender and non-binary brothers, sisters, and siblings. Love always wins. Thank you for this presentation, Marcus, and thank you, St. Paul's, for all the work we have done. And I am so proud to be able to be a church that can proudly and consciously and meaningfully put up a rainbow flag, not just as a symbol of our inclusion, but a symbol of all the work we have done and all of the learning that we will keep doing. Thank you, St. Paul's. Thank you, Marcus.
Good morning, St. Paul's. I am reading today from Paul's first letter to the community in Corinth, chapter 13, verses 8 through 13. Love will never become obsolete. Now, as for the prophetic gifts, they will not last. Unknown languages will become silent, and the gift of knowledge will no longer be needed. Gifts of knowledge and prophecy are partial at best, at least for now, but someday, all the parts will end. When I was a child, I spoke, thought, and reasoned in childlike ways, as we all do. But when I became an adult, I left my childish ways behind. For now, we can only see a dim and blurry picture of things, as when we stare into polished metal. I realize that everything I know is only part of the big picture. But one day, when Jesus arrives, we will see clearly face to face. In that day, I will fully know just as I have been wholly known by God. But now, faith, hope, and love remain. These three virtues must characterize our lives. The greatest of these is love. May God grant us understanding of this sacred text.
Be thou my vision, O Lord of my heart. Not be all else to me, save that thou art. Thou my best God, by day or by night, waking or sleeping, thy presence my light. Be thou my wisdom, and thou my true word. I ever with thee, and thou with me, Lord. Thou my great Father, and I thy true Son. Thou in me dwelling, and I with
Greetings, St. Paul's United Church. I am so proud to be a part of your service today, especially because it's your first celebration of your vote to become an affirming ministry and the first of what I'm sure will be many celebrations to come. I wanted to say I love the word affirming. And part of the reason for that is that often in my work, I hear people say, we're already welcoming, or people are already welcome here. So I'm not sure why we have to do this affirming thing. I think about it like this. The word welcome is still sort of saying that we can decide, because we can say you're welcome here or you're not welcome here. It establishes that there are people on the inside and there are people on the outside. Therefore, there's some sort of power dynamic at play. What's different about the word affirm is basically if people say, I affirm you, it means if somebody tells you who they are, you say, yes, you are. It takes any illusion that we can decide who's in or who's out of it, and it goes deeper than welcoming. Sometimes when we say welcoming, we mean, yes, you can be co-located among us, you can sit next to us, we can have coffee with you, although neither of those things are possible right now, for all of us anyway. What it means to be affirming goes deeper than that. It means if I'm lucky enough to know who you are and you share that with me, my only job is to say, I see you. And the work of affirming and being in this process and continuing to live this out, as we all want to do, means that we continue to try to see things that most of society doesn't want to see. We continue to humanize people that most of society doesn't necessarily always humanize. And it requires something of us. It requires us to learn things that maybe feel a little bit uncomfortable. It requires us to be a little bit more expansive out of what we might currently know. And in that uncomfortability, it means other people have a chance to feel more comfortable. So being publicly, intentionally, and explicitly affirming is a very colorful way of saying we all belong. And we want to make sure that no matter where you are, no matter where I am, you will never doubt whether you belong. Enough about me gushing about the word affirming, which I love to do, but I wanted to start with a little bit of a story. So I grew up in a very, very small village, first in upstate New York, and I was really lucky because I had this huge, expansive forest to play in. The nearest neighbor wasn't for 2 miles, and so literally no one could hear you scream if you were out playing in the woods. But the beautiful thing about that time in my life is I had this sense of imagination that got to run wild as I ran wild. And in my time in the forest, playing with my siblings and even on my own, I had this sense of connection with something that was outside of the love that I knew from my parents, the love that I knew from my siblings. The sense that even if I was in this wild forest, I could never be lost. I could only be found. And that deep sense of spirituality spoke to me. And for a long time, I connected that sense of spirituality and that sense of ultimate belonging with the words that my parents taught me about Jesus and about God. And I felt like I can get behind this. I feel this sense of belonging. I know that I could never be lost. Also, I have this somewhat embarrassing memory of being about 5 or 6 years old. And I had a million cousins, and one of my cousins who I really looked up to, and I went for a long walk in this new neighborhood that we'd never been in before. And when I say neighborhood, I mean there was probably 3 houses within 5 or 6 miles. So we took a long walk and we came upon this garden, a huge garden in someone's backyard. And my cousin said to me, you know what? This guy asked us to pick his garden for him. And I thought, wow, I can't believe that I'm being trusted to pick somebody's garden, but I'm here for the job. I had overalls on. I was ready to go. So we start picking from the garden. And as I started picking the carrots, I noticed that they were very small. And I wasn't really sure about that, but I thought maybe these are baby carrots, and this is where baby carrots come from. Soon enough, we had 3 or 4 long aisles already picked, and we had a huge pile on the side of very tiny looking vegetables. And here I see this guy come out of his back door and come running up the hill yelling. And I'm thinking, why is he not saying thank you for doing all this work for me? Well, it turns out we were pulling this garden about 4 months too early. And even though I had no idea what was happening because I was just listening to my cousin and thinking I was doing a really great, kind thing, I ended up having to give my allowance to this guy for a couple of years at least. And when I think back on that story, and I connect it with this sense of spirituality that made me feel like I belonged, I think of this idea of being uprooted from something, uprooted from the idea that we are ultimately worthy of love and belonging. We are often told when something is ripe or is good enough, especially in religious communities. And sometimes we're told that if we question this, there's something wrong with us, or there will be consequences. And I think especially for people who fall under the LGBTQ2SIA+ umbrella, often we don't actually get the chance to ripen. We don't get the chance to become our true selves and to be able to grow into ourselves in a natural way. Because our desires, our thoughts, our natural ways of being are squelched. We live out the seasons, not getting to do the rich and restful work of composting and not getting to bloom in the way that we deserve to have bloomed. We burst out in fits and starts, but people always say it's in the wrong ways and the wrong time. And that's part of the reason why I do what I do. Because I learned how to do my own uprooting. And no, not just of that guy's garden way too early, but because I grew up in this tradition where everything told me that I was growing at the wrong time, that I deserved to not belong where I'd been planted. And it made me feel like maybe there was something inherently distorted about who I was. And the next layer of that is, as I began to truly believe that that was true about me, it tempted me to actually think that other people could actually not belong either. And in doing so, I know I caused a lot of harm. Because we can't actually think that we have the option of not belonging, especially when it comes to the love of God, without thinking that other people may not belong either. And so I began to, in my life, as I became a missionary, as I went through all of these steps to work out my spirituality and to try to help other people and show compassion, yet at the same time, I was living in this way that was uprooting the true sense of who others were and the true sense of who I was. And it took me a long time to remember to get back to the place where I knew in my core the same thing that I knew was that when I was in the forest when I was 4 years old, which is that faith is meant to be expansive and not restrictive. Faith is meant to feed us and to want us to bloom and flourish as we are in the right time, in the right seasons, give us time for rest and time to bloom and show who we are. The thing that I learned in my childhood in the forest, I was never actually taught in church. And I grieve over the years that were lost where I felt like I had to decide who was in or who was out, and where I was told who was in and who was out. And yet I'm thankful that eventually, because of people like you, because of people who listened to their heart, people who said, you know what, everybody does belong. That created a space for me to come into myself and to be able to experience a sanctuary for the first time as a sanctuary. In our reading from 1 Corinthians today, we find some interesting concepts that speak to this. And we may know this chapter well, and the phrase, the greatest of these is love. But the question I have is, what is love greater than? What in this passage is its opposition? Now, the author, Paul, shares that prophetic gifts, the prediction of things to come, will not last. Speaking in unknown languages that we haven't learned will become silent. And the gift of knowledge will no longer be needed. So what we see here is a contrast of supernatural gifts, the things that we may esteem as being extraordinary or otherworldly, against the simplicity of love. He's saying all other talents will one day be meaningless in the light of love. They are temporary in comparison to the love of God that is eternal. And there is a humility and a groundedness in knowing that love above all else is what will remain. The only thing we really need to learn how to do. In this chapter, he continues saying, for now, we can only see a dim and blurry picture of things, as when we stare into polished metal. I realize that everything I know is only part of the big picture. And here he hints at our inability to see the whole picture, to be in that state of imperfection. He's hinting that that is actually a gift. That's what I think. Because the beauty of seeing things dimly is not that we don't seek to understand or gain wisdom, because of course we should. But it is in admitting that we all only know a small part of this picture. It keeps us from saying, this is how it is, and this is how it's always been, and this is how it always must be. The call that I see here, the invitation I see here, is to continue to be expansive beyond what we can know, even through a mirror dimly, that we are invited to love. Maybe the gift of seeing this, of a more childlike faith, is to recapture some of this sense of imagination. To be able to trust and not have to figure out every single thing, to know deep in our hearts that we belong. And I know for me, I have to admit, I don't know what else could have gotten me to accept other people unless I had to be faced with my own self being kicked out of what seemed to be something that was unnatural. And now I know that it's my calling. It's part of me saying that love is really the thing that matters, really the only thing that's going to endure forever. To keep expanding my circle and to not get too comfortable or think that my comfort is porous and is going to move on to the next person. Because I also have to see and know who else is being left out. Who may be in their childhood or even right now, for whatever reason, whether they're queer, have a disability, have an unfortunate economic situation. For whatever reason, I always have to ask, who is being left out? Because I was the person that was left out. Now, I have to admit, thinking like we can decide who's in or who's out can feel good. It really can. Sometimes we can be intoxicated by this idea that some people are just not as lovable as others. I think that all the time when I watch politics. But the fact is that I wonder if we take this radical idea that Jesus lived out, that love and grace extend to all of us in the same way, in the same expansive way. If we truly believe that, how would that transform the way that we live, the way that we love, the way we work, the way we worship, the way we vote? How would it transform the sense of loneliness that hangs over so many of us because we feel different and like we can't ever quite fit in? Would that sense of ultimately accepting that there's actually nothing that I can do to be kicked out, and there's nothing you can do to be kicked out, maybe relieve some of our anxiety about feeling like we have the control or the power to even decide? And it comes back to this idea of being affirming. Because I think affirming is an invitation to be less tempted to think of ourselves as God-like, as being a judge or being somebody who knows all by just seeing somebody on the outside, and being more Christ-like. Because I really do think, and it's very tempting these days when we are at every turn invited to polarize and to think of people, those people who do those things who don't agree with me. But instead of thinking, how can I prove everyone else wrong and that I'm right? If we accepted the invitation to look at the life of Jesus, then we would say, how can I be more Christ-like? Which means, what does love look like right now, and in the next moment, and in the next moment, and the next? I tell you, friends, we need that. I actually can't say enough how much we need that. And especially from religious communities, it's so important for us to know that this radical idea of being truly and fully loved by God is indeed radical. It is still unique. You becoming affirming is so unique still. And we need you. Because most of the religious voices out there are not affirming the core of who people are. They're not affirming our humanity, our dignity, our right to live and love and to flourish. And it's devastating for me to see people who claim to speak on behalf of God and yet say things that basically threaten to send us into an everlasting state of not belonging. So I want you to hear that, we all see through a glass dimly. We may not know, you may not know how important this affirming journey and your continuing actions are going to matter, because we can only see a small part of it right now. But what I know to be true from the hundreds of people I've talked to throughout the years is that no matter who actually participates in your church, whether online or in person, you're going to bring so much hope just by existing, by having your rainbow colors, and by saying, we care about this. This is about justice and humanity. And actually, we're doing this because it's faithful, not because it's popular. And I'm so thankful that you're yet another harbor along a very stormy sea for so many of us, especially right now. I'm going to end with this quote because I love talking about this stuff, but we do have a time limit. So the queer academic Jose Munoz said this. He said, queerness is essentially about the rejection of a here and now, and an insistence on potentiality or concrete possibility for another world. This queer we does not speak to a merely identitarian logic, but instead a logic of futurity. The we speaks to a we that is not yet conscious, a future society that is being invoked and addressed at the same moment. To put it in simpler terms, it speaks to a queering, a stretching of our imagination in a sense that we, at our core, inherently contend with the world with hope and from a place of hope. More importantly, we come from a place of never expecting or allowing the world to stay the same, but to bend towards the real possibility that injustice can never belong in the world we imagine. We are invited in our present selves to enact and catalyze ourselves and others towards this world that is being imagined and enacted in the same moment. So I ask you, St. Paul's United, what is your next adventure? What will your next sense of imagination be as you approach what it means to be affirming tomorrow and the next day and in 2 years and 5 years and 50 years? What sort of legacy are you laying out so the people who come and find you will find that sanctuary and be able to join you on this journey? This really matters. This really matters. And as I leave you in this current moment to enjoy the rest of your service, I want to just say, remember, God's love knows no boundaries. It colors outside the lines. It is without limit. Know that you are not alone and that God is with you in the days to come for whatever the next adventure is. Blessings to you, and I hope to meet you all in person someday soon. God bless.
My love colors outside the lines, exploring paths that few could ever find. It takes me into places where I've never been before and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. My Lord colors outside the lines, turns wounds to blessings, water into wine, and takes me into places where I've never been before and opens doors to worlds outside the lines. We'd never walk on water if we're not prepared to drown. Body and soul need a soaking from time to time. And we'll never move the gravestones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. My soul longs to color outside the lines. Tear back the curtains, sun, come in and shine. I want to walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before and open doors soul need a soaking from time to time. And we'll never move the gravestones if we're not prepared to die and realize there are worlds outside the lines. My soul longs to color outside the lines. Tear back the curtain, sun, come in and shine. I want to walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before. Throw open doors to worlds outside the lines. My soul longs to color outside the lines. Tear back the curtain, sun, come in and shine. I want to walk beyond the boundaries where I've never been before. Throw open doors to worlds outside the lines.
I'm imagining a world where we are all in soil that is loving and affirming and nurturing, and that we can grow and bloom the way we're supposed to do. Thank you, Pam, for sharing your stories and for sharing your wisdom. I'm so glad you could be with us this morning. Just a few things to note before we move on. First of all, and this is relevant to today, last week, which seems so long ago, we were not here on Facebook Live. Some of us joined the region for their worship service. Part of the business that fell to the region last weekend was approving a remit. And this remit actually changes our basis of union that was written way back in 1925 when the United Church of Canada became the United Church of Canada. In that remit, it says that men and women are welcome to become part of the order of ministry. And the remit was to change that language so that it would be all gender identities are welcome to be a part of the order of ministry. So that was approved at our region, and it will take a 2/3 vote of all the regions, and then it will be in place in March of next year. Also, last weekend, we celebrated lots of retirements, and we also celebrate those who have been in ministry for a certain number of years. And one of those names will be familiar to you. Reverend Bill Sparling celebrated 60 years of ministry. I did send him an email to congratulate him, and he responded to say thank you and that he's still keeping an eye on St. Paul's. So he sends his greetings. Also, we will be talking a bit about stewardship in the next few weeks. As you may have noticed on one of the slides that was up earlier, we raised over $5,000 from you during our Thanksgiving offering to help pay for our technology needs at this time. You will get an update as to where we are right now, and which isn't actually, we aren't in a very bad place, but we're also actually not in a great place either. So we will talk more about that next weekend and through the newsletter in other ways. So now we're going to hear from Michael Blair, the Reverend Michael Blair, who is our new General Secretary of the United Church of Canada. He is the first Black man and the first gay man to be, the first out gay man to be our Executive Secretary of the United Church of Canada. He's also a person who is filled with lots of experience and lots of wisdom. He's going to share some greetings. Then we will enter into a time of prayer with Harold, and then a hymn, and then we're going to, near the end, we're going to hear from our junior worship band. So hold on for a while longer as we listen to what comes next.
Friends, what a joy it is for me to bring greetings to you today on this day as you celebrate the step in your Christian discipleship. Becoming an affirming ministry is not just about you as a community of faith. One may jokingly ask, What Took You So Long? It is about a young black woman singing in a school choir in a rented United Church space. While singing, she spotted what she thought was a rainbow flag. Thinking that her eyes had deceived her, she went looking after a performance and discovered that her mind was not playing tricks on her. It was indeed a rainbow flag. She subsequently researched the United Church and discovered for the first time she could be part of a faith community in her full authentic self. She was in church the following Sunday. It is about giving hope to a group of Ugandan LGBTQ refugees in Kenya struggling to keep themselves safe in the context of fear, violence, and hate. It is about giving courage to the National Council of Churches in Korea as they work to challenge the deep homophobic and religiously bigotry of their member churches and society at large. Thank you for your faithful discipleship and for affirming God's yes, that indeed all are welcome, all have a place, that love and life are holy and blessed. Blessings on your celebration.
Good morning, St. Paul's family, and those joining us this morning to celebrate our becoming an affirming congregation. Now the real journey begins. My name is Harold Devaney, and I am a member of this courageous church family. We have lots of things to think about and dream about, even in the midst of the pandemic. Before we enter prayer, I invite you to take a deep, refreshing breath. Relax and open your hearts and offer them in prayer. And I will have chosen to give you a nice fireplace while I read the prayer. Would you join me in prayer? Creator God, sustainer of life, your spirit is the thread that connects every human with each other and with the world we live on and all its creatures. We cannot comprehend the scope and power of your Spirit as it links our minds and hearts, urging us to love and care for each other and the world. Through this Creator thread, we are challenged to forgive, to understand, to be accepting, and to know and act for what is right and just, and to oppose injustice, hatred, and oppression in all its forms at all times. We are thankful for the hardworking, loving people who are on our affirming team and lift them up to you, God, as examples of courageous and faith-filled servants of Jesus. They are truly beautiful people, and we are blessed to have them among us. We do not always see putting your Spirit's nudging into action as fun, but as a chore or something we are too tired or too old to do. Forgive us when we act this way and fill us with the energy Christ showed for serving others and demanding justice for the poor and marginalized in society. Continue to help us see all of our neighbors as brothers and sisters who deserve no less than we do, equal in your eyes. We come before you, God, with the fear of getting COVID-19, our tiredness of being isolated physically from our families and loved ones, and the uncertainty of what the future is going to look like after we survive this pandemic. Send your Spirit to each of us and lift us up so that we can look forward to a return of hugs from our family and friends and see full faces complete with smiles of those we pass. Normal will look different in the future, but when it arrives, there will be lots to celebrate. God of refreshing love, we ask that you stay with us as we embark on our journey as an affirming congregation. Some of us are ready to take on the world and run with a purpose, while others of us are concerned and have some fear about being an affirming congregation and how it could impact us in the future. These are both valid responses, and we will find a path forward with your spirit of love and justice guiding us. God of understanding, help us sort out the actions taking place in the U.S. as a result of the election. Give us the patience and time to see what is behind the mudslinging and name-calling, and put our faith that your spirit will ultimately guide the outcomes in a direction that results in a peaceful transition of power in the next few months. Christmas child, lead us to the joy early this year. Let us celebrate your recognition, our recognition as an affirming congregation, and then let's begin early with the joy and love that comes with celebrating the birth of Jesus in a stable. Let's resist letting the feelings of despair brought on by the length of this pandemic overcome the joy of Christmas by being intentionally joyful and thankful that Christmas will come, pandemic or not. We ask all of this in the name of the Christ child by saying the prayer taught by Jesus to his disciples. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. Lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, now and forever. Amen.
We are one as we come, joyful to be here in the praise on our lips. There's a sense that God is near. We are one as we sing, as we seek, we are found, and we come needful.
All right, we are coming near to the end of our service. I'm going to share a benediction with you that was written by Richard Rohr. He's a Franciscan priest, and his words are always powerful, and the prayer I saw was perfect for today. Also, I hope to see many of you on Zoom right after. Remember that the link is in your newsletter, and it's also on the website. Let's hear the words of Richard Rohr. God, lover of life, lover of these lives, God, lover of our souls, lover of our bodies, lover of all that exists. In fact, it is your love that keeps it all alive. May we live in this love. May we never doubt this love. May we know that we are love, that we were created for love, that we are a reflection of you, that you loved yourself in us, and therefore we are perfectly lovable. May we never doubt this deep and abiding and perfect goodness. We are because you are. Amen. And now let's hear from our junior worship band, and I'll see you all on Zoom.